Hello and welcome to the Breakthrough Podcast. I am your host, Kwame Kuadey. The Breakthrough Podcast is about giving you tips, perspective, insights about how to break through the adversity you're facing and turn that into an advantage. My purpose is to help you build the business and life you want by helping you do the hard things to break through your current challenges. I do have a daily podcast called The Daily Breakthrough, where each weekday I post bite sized insights and tips on how to win the day because I know that winning the day, that incremental win every day, is what leads to the bigger and larger goal over time. So you can check that out. It's called The Daily Breakthrough. But today I'm focused on the Breakthrough podcast because this is the more in depth podcast format where I explore topics in a much deeper way than I usually do on my daily podcast. So, if you haven't subscribed to my podcast yet, I want to urge you to subscribe, and it will mean a lot to me because I'm trying to grow this network of like minded people, and I'll be honored to have you on board. So, what am I here to talk about today? The title of today's podcast Is the Pain Worth It? I think that it's one of the topics that I've been exploring for a long time, especially given the year that I have been through. I know I've said it in a few podcast episodes, especially on my daily podcast, that it's been a very challenging year, but it's also been a very defining year for me. It's just right out of the gate. I mean, it started like in October last year, but right out of the gate, early in January, we knew that it was going to be a challenging year because pretty much the wheels started coming off our business in ways that we've never seen in the last 5 years. And it has required us to dig deeper and pretty much re engineer the business and head in a very different direction, doing some of the things that we knew we should have been doing and avoided because times were good, and then also doing things and exploring things that could be possible paths that we could take that we haven't really had the chance or the courage or opportunity to really explore because, again, times were good. So, enduring seasons of adversity and extreme pain, we find courage to do things that we normally would not do, or look at things that we normally would not look at, or explore solutions that we normally would not. But pressure and pain have a way of pushing us in that direction. So today, I wanted to answer the question, is the pain worth it? Because not every pain is worth going through, especially when you're dealing with things about your purpose, about business, and you find yourself at a crossroad and you're trying to decide, is this really worth me going through? Is there something on the other side of this pain that I want? And so, is the pain worth it? Is what I want to talk about and give you four different things to think about when you're at that juncture where you have to think about or make a decision about whether to continue or not. Because we face that all the time as business owners. We always are, we find ourselves at some point at a crossroad where you have to look at everything in front of you, look at all the data, the facts, the knowns and unknowns, and then make a decision about whether you should keep going or not. And so, for me, especially having gone through this year, everything I've learned about pain, everything I've learned about pressure, it has helped me crystallize a framework on how to make these decisions and some of the questions you have to ask yourself as you begin to ponder whether to keep going or not, whether to continue to endure this pain. Because sometimes the question is also about, is enduring this pain worth it? Because you may have in the beginning accepted the fact that this pain was worth going through. But then at some point, as you've gone through it for a period of time now, and you're looking on the horizon and you're not seeing any sign of relief, or the relief is slow or the victory is dragging on, and you're beginning to think, should I keep going? Should I keep enduring this pain? Should I continue on this path? So, I want to give you 4 things to think about. The first one is to answer this question: is this pain connected to your purpose? And I think this year for me, that number one question has been crystallized and in no uncertain terms clarified for me. I think that for me, it's been a yes. And it's because the pain I'm going through this year is directly connected to my purpose. I think that finally I was able to connect the dots over the last 7 or 8 years of my life, the things that God has allowed to happen to me regarding business and the hard times that I have had to go through. This is the third major hard time I've gone through in business in 8 years, and they've all been different lessons. Now, I am not learning the same lessons. That would have been a terrible thing to do. Is that God is putting me in situations where I am learning different lessons in business in terms of adversity, and it did not all make sense to me until this year when I realized that they are all connected to my purpose, because I have always known that I wanted to do something with entrepreneurship. I mean, I teach entrepreneurship at a top business school, and I have always, over the last 15 years, been in the startup community, advised several startups, and just have an expertise and authority and knowledge in this space because of my accomplishments and what I've done and what I've learned from that. So I knew that I was going to be somehow, my purpose was connected to helping startups and businesses. But what I thought it was that I thought God wanted me to be the person that helps people take ideas and birth them into businesses and scale them, because that was what I was good at, and came to me naturally. And so that was what I thought it was. And I can still do that. It doesn't mean that that is something that I cannot do anymore. But what God revealed to me was a bigger purpose with entrepreneurship, which is helping entrepreneurs that are stuck get unstuck, to help them find breakthroughs, to help them achieve breakthroughs by helping them do the hard things and providing them a framework to be able to unpack what is happening to them and to their business and be able to find a path forward that gives them a breakthrough. So this year's struggle brought all the last pieces of that puzzle and equipped me with a passion and a zeal and a purpose that I've never had. Because previously I've tried to create content, I've tried to establish myself as an authority and with all the knowledge that I have, but I realized that it was just me connecting my knowledge to an opportunity. I had this body of knowledge. There was something I was very good at, which is helping people start and grow businesses. And so I was trying to market that and market myself as such. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, I'm a business person. I see opportunity. I have a skill to meet that. It's a product market fit. So I was going on that path, but I was never able to sustain it because I didn't have the zeal and the obsession that I have right now. Now that I have purpose and my purpose has been clarified. So I'm saying all this to say that the first question when you're going through pain and you want to ask, you're at that juncture where you need to ask yourself, do I need to continue down this path and endure this pain? The first question you need to ask yourself is it connected to your purpose? And if the answer is yes, then you have to keep going, because God is taking you through that pain because it's preparing you to be able to be effective in your purpose, to be able to have the authority, the credibility, the relatability, the empathy, and be able to be more effective to the people that you're here to serve and be able to help them in ways that you wouldn't be able to had you not gone through what you're going through. So if it's connected to your purpose, then yes, you have to keep going because you don't know what God has in store, the lessons that God has in store for you by allowing you to go through what you're going through right now. So that's number one. Number two, it may not be connected to your purpose, but you're looking at your business and you're going through a hard time. And now you're trying to decide, okay, this has been a painful season. Do I want to keep going? And here you have to ask yourself a couple of questions. The first one is the pain you're going through forcing you to move the business to a better place? Have you been able to do the things that you've been avoiding? Or the things that you know you should have been doing that would make your business more nimble, more grow it to a more sustainable, put in a more sustainable path? Have you now been doing those things? If going through this season of pain has moved your business to a better place, then it's worth it. Then you have to keep going. Number two, is it forcing you to explore things that you would not otherwise have explored as solutions, as possible angles, as possible paths for your business that you never explored if this pain, this pressure had not come into your life, into your business and pushed you in that direction? And if overall you can look at where you were before this adversity started and where your business is now, and you can say that the business is on a better trajectory and a more sustainable path, then yes, you have to keep going because that is a positive outcome. And growth requires some pressure. Left to our own devices, we will not do the hard things that are required. It just is human nature. Very rarely are we proactive in just doing the things, the hard things we know, especially when times are good. We don't. It's when the pressure hits and we have an existential threat that we are able to dig deeper into ourselves and will ourselves to do the hard things. So that is number two. Has it moved your business to a better place? Is it moving your business in a better direction? If the answer is yes, then you have to keep going. Number three, this is where you're going through pain, but you don't understand why. And sometimes God does this to us because He's trying to nudge us in a different direction than we were headed into. Left to our own devices, we will stay comfortable or stay on the path that we were on that did not align with the purpose that God has for us, or that did not fully help us to realize our full potential. So sometimes God will allow adversity to hit to be able to make you uncomfortable and make it easy for you to let go of this thing so that He can get your attention to start shifting and focusing on the other thing that He wants you to be doing. And so during the season where you are confused, you cannot make out, why am I going through this? It does not make sense. The more it does not make sense, the more you need to sit with it. Because God doesn't waste adversity. He will not allow something into your life without a purpose and a plan and a reason. So there may be a lesson in there for you. Maybe it's supposed to shift your focus onto something, and until you lock into that thing that God wants you to pay attention to, until you start heading in the direction that He's trying to nudge you into, He's going to allow the pain to continue. Because the more the pressure is applied, the more we start and become open to looking around and trying to figure out, what should we be doing? And the more you explore, the more you will land where God wants you to be. And the moment you land there, you would know. You would know that this was what this whole thing was about. And until then, God is going to allow the pain to continue because there is a lesson in there. There is a purpose in the pain. So stick with it. Stay with it. Because if you don't know where it's going to take you. So when the pain doesn't make sense, it means that you are in an exploratory mode and you have to sit with it for a little bit and let it lead you to where God wants you to be. And then, number 4, probably the most relevant part for me right now in all of this, apart from number 1, is number 4, which is sometimes the pain has lasted a long time. And you are trying to figure out signals of, okay, when is this going to end? And do I have what it takes to keep going? Do I even want to keep going? Yes, I get it. This is connected to my purpose. But it's been a long lesson. It's been a long road. And God, when are you going to let me have some relief? When is my breakthrough going to come? When is the victory going to come? And usually, I have 2 things I want you to think about if that is how you feel right now. The first one is we need to take stock of where you've been. Look at where you started when this pain started. And then write down everything that you have gained as a result. Everything you've gained, everything you've willed yourself to gain as a result of this adversity. Everything you've become as a result, skills, knowledge, and experiences that you have, as a result, become a new person. Write that down. And number 3, what have you accomplished? So it may be accomplishment in your business, things that you've been able to achieve that you, over a short period of time, that you never would have been able to achieve if it wasn't for this pressure. Number 1. Number 2, skills that you've gained, things that you've gained, markets that you've gained, edges that you've gained, advantages that you've gained. And then number 3, who you've become. You, the entrepreneur, you, the person. Who have you become? Have you become more resilient? More focused? More determined? More patient? More trusting of God? More humbled? Well, all those are important. And so it's important to write them down. And then once you write them down, I want you to ask yourself 2 questions. Number 1, look at where you were when the pain started. And look at where you are now with your business and self. Would you rather go to that place? Would you rather, even if the beginning, those were the good times. Look at where you are, what you've gained, what you've accomplished, what you've experienced, what you've become, who you've become. Would you rather go to that place that before this started, where yes, things were good, but you were not all these things? Would you rather go there? If the answer is no, then you have to keep going. And then the second question, and probably the more important question, is where your business is today. The business you have today, the more resilient, the more nimble, the more competitive business that you have, and all the things that you've been forced to do to get the business to where it is, where you're positioned better for the future than you were before. Yes, times were good back then, but look at the business you had and the business you have now. If you hadn't done all the things that you've done through this adversity, where would you be? Imagine if the adversity hit and you didn't take any action. That's the question I'm trying to ask. If the adversity has hit and you did not take any action, and you went into denial, and you were like, oh, woe is me. This is happening to me. I don't get it. I'm going to wait it out. Maybe this will pass. And maybe you went through that, but change your mind. But I'm saying, if you did nothing when this adversity hit, to what you've done and what you have accomplished, where you are now with the business, would you rather go to when you did nothing? And map that out, write that down. What would have become of your business, and what would have become of you, your financial obligations, everything that you've done, if you had just let this ride, versus going through the pain, pushing yourself, going through discomfort, and where you are now. And if you think that that season, the pain you went through and what it forced you to do, has moved you in the right direction and put you on a good path, then if you're asking yourself, should you keep going? Then the answer is yes, because it's been worth it. And so you cannot, if the body of work during that period has been worth it, then you have to keep going. And that is one of the things that we struggle with as entrepreneurs, but I think it has to do with sitting down and writing down what you've gained, accomplished, become, experienced, and comparing it to where you were before, and seeing, is the business in a better place, even if the times were good before, and then well positioned. And then two, the things that you did during the time of adversity, if you hadn't done them, where would the business be when the adversity hit? And if you see the body of work and you can say that, yes, I have moved through pain and my business is in a better place, then you have to keep going. So those are the 4 things that I wanted to talk about today, to provide you with a framework to think through answering that question, is the pain worth it? And in my experience in this season that I'm going through, for 2 reasons, the pain has been worth it. Number 1, because it's connected and clarified for me my purpose. It's largely connected to my purpose. And I was meant to go through this season to get me ready to step into my purpose, which I am doing now. And number 2, the business is in a better place. If I hadn't done anything when the adversity hit, we would have lost the business completely. It would have gotten to a point where the pain would have been so great, the financial pain would have been so great, that we would have had to abandon it and go do something else. But because we stuck with it and did the hard things, the things we should have been doing that we knew we should have, and explored things that we didn't even think were things we should be exploring and did, we're in a better place. So yes, going through the pain has been worth it. So I hope this helps you if you're facing a similar thing or you're in a similar moment and are struggling with how to answer the question. I hope this framework helps you come up with an answer. And whatever the answer is, it's yours. But at least you've thought through it and asked yourself deep and important questions that can guide you to make a decision that you can live with and feel good about. So that's all I have today. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so. It will be an honor to have you as a subscriber. So until the next time, you can do hard things. So keep pushing forward.